Elden Ring. It's the game everyone's playing, including me. And as we all know, it's a Dark Souls game, so there's a ton of bosses. Some are required for the story, the others are just kind of there for rewards, I guess. Or if you're bored. I don't really know. But, regardless, there's a lot of bosses, and today I'll be talking about my top 5 favorite bosses. Let's get into it. Coming in at number 5, we have the Bloodhound Knight, Darwin. Now, the main reason this boss is in the 5th slot is because, well, first of all, it's either going to be really hard or really easy depending on how far into the game you are. If you just started the game, then, well, this boss is going to be pretty hard. But if you're at mid to end game, then this boss is going to be fairly easy. But it's definitely worth fighting even though it's an optional boss. Because, well, you can get something called the Bloodhound's Thang from it, which is basically that sword it's using. And if you get it to max level, you can use it to end game, which is really good because, like I said, you can fight this boss at the very beginning of the game. Now, if you do Blood's side quest, which is, the wolf guy that you'll sometimes see in the loading screen, you can get something called the, sorry if I butcher this name, by the way, the Carton Filcreed Crest. Now, what this does, that basically reduces the amount of mana that, magic attacks or just any attack that uses mana consumes, which is really good for just any magic build or just, any build that evolves around FP attacks. So it's definitely worth doing. It's definitely worth fighting the boss. And yeah, it's only in 5th spot though because, well, it does tend to, if you lose sight of it and you don't have it on target lock, it will, just kind of try and stab you in the back all the time. And that gets very annoying very fast. But still a very good boss. Coming in 4th place, we got Star Scourge Radahn. Now, the reason I put this boss in 4th place is because it is a very enjoyable boss, and it can actually help you achieve Ronnie's ending if you decide to do her quest line. Now, although this boss is technically optional, it's something that you kind of need to fight if you want to get one of the endings in this game, which is, like I said earlier, Ronnie's ending. But the main reason I put this boss in 4th place and not higher is because they made the arena so big, and it's kind of just inconvenient, because at the end of the day, you don't need an arena that's, that big. Especially for this boss, because the way you want to fight this boss is just you want to stay close to it, like, as close as humanly possible. Because since it's a big boss, it has a really big attack range, and you don't want to get too far from it. So, what I did was that, I just kind of stayed close to it, and then just started shredding its ankles to bits. And it does work, but, at the end of the day, it still is a really good boss, because I'd rather have a really big arena than one that's too small and inconvenient. Coming in at number 3, we have the Dragon Lord himself. Now, this boss is optional, like the other 2 bosses on this list. In fact, it's actually a hidden boss because, like, you have to do a lot of strange things to even find this boss. But it's almost like if the game is awarding you for somehow finding this boss, Because although it's optional and it's, really hard for no reason, it's still worth the fight. You get a really strong weapon out of it, and it's just a great fight in general. Now, if you want to actually find the boss, you have to go to this location and then follow this path on the screen. Now, I'm speeding up for the, sake of the video because I don't want to go all video going through how to, find the boss and stuff. But, basically just follow this path, and then once you get here, you just lay down. And then you'll find the boss. It's random, but it's worth it. Trust me, you get a really cool weapon out of it, and you get a really cool boss fight out of it too. Coming in at number 2, we have Morgott the Omen King. Now, you do actually end up fighting this boss in the very beginning of the game, but, he does say at the end of the fight, you don't actually end up killing him, he does say that he will come back. And when he does, he makes a hell of an introduction. He basically lists off, all the names of the bosses and all other higher beings, and then says that they're all traitors and they're all failures compared to him. It's just really epic. And when most games bring back old bosses, it just feels like a failed attempt of making the game feel full and lazy. But with this boss, they actually gave him more moves, and they made him extremely hard. Compared to the beginning of the game, he's the first boss, so he's only so hard. But this boss, some people say the sequels are never as good as the original, but in this case, the sequel is way better. Now, the best Elden Ring boss, at least in my opinion, you already can tell from the video, is Malakith the Black Blade.
Now, I think a lot of people will agree with me on this because the cutscene from first to second phase is practically iconic, and this game legit came out this year. I mean, it gave me goosebumps, and they're two completely different bosses. At least they feel like that, because everything changes. The moveset, the looks, even the name changes. And sure, this boss, when it gets to that second phase, it only has half health. But trust me, it'll feel like a whole new boss. I mean, this is what it looks like in its first phase, alright? Completely different boss, everything's different, and it's still fairly difficult because, well, all of its attacks do a ton of damage. But this and this are both completely different, and honestly, I do love it. They caught you off guard, and this is the kind of boss that a good attempt would be that you got one really solid hit in. But yeah, although this boss does make you go through all the stages of grief and it makes you want to kill yourself, but that's Dark Souls for you.
Well, that's all I have for you guys today, so I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you guys next time.